Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is KathyFreeze, and I am a Purple Martin landlord located in the very small town of Licking, Missouri. Tonight, I would like to talk to you about how I have built a super colony of Purple Martin landlords across Missouri. To give you some historical perspective and take you back to when I first became a Purple Martin landlord, let's go to 2007. So, a short description of Licking. We are located in Texas County, Missouri, a small area of 1,179 square miles with a population of approximately 25,000. My colony started in 2007, and currently I host approximately 84 pair each year. After reading on the PMCA site John Barrow's article on Last Testament to the Purple Martin, I decided that I too wanted to extend my support of Purple Martins far beyond my backyard. Initially, my goal with my small colony was to achieve a super colony status, that is, of 100 pair. But after a couple of summers managing my site, I finally came to the conclusion that with a full-time job, a super colony would just not be practical for me. But I still wanted to help increase the population of the Purple Martin. Part of my decision-making in whether to build or not build a super colony, in May 2009 we experienced a tornado with 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds, and that caused me to quickly reconsider the consequences of having a large colony wiped out in a single event. Besides the hot summers here in Missouri, which also caused me to reconsider, I decided that I wanted to improve the quality of the sites around me to which my nestlings would disperse next year as subadults. Taking a drive around Missouri, I noticed the condition of much of the housing out there. It contained English house sparrows and starlings. Many of the houses were just not even manageable for raising and lowering. A lot didn't even have predator guards. So in 2009-2010, I set some short-term goals for myself. And instead of adding more housing, I determined that I could help my fledges more when they returned as subadults by improving the surrounding sites. In this way, I could contribute to the effort and have a larger impact by involving more people. The short-term goals that I set were outreach to current and potential new Purple Martin landlords using our local newspapers as a communications medium. I would help these landlords identify goals and form a mentor and protege relationship with them. Educate them via my monthly newsletter. And then I could help improve the current housing sites to increase the puma nesting success by eliminating nest site competitors, cleaning out housing and configure for raising and lowering, and ensure that predator guards were placed on all the poles. At the same time, I also set some long-term goals. Increase the number of actively managed colonies, creating new source sites, and reducing the number of sink sites. Increase the quantity and quality of housing that could be managed, more easily managed, by raising and lowering. Provide education and outreach to more Purple Martin landlords, a train-the-trainer approach, and a realization of mutually beneficial relationships, as in neighbors realizing that they would benefit from more martins willing to nest at their neighbors' sites as well, and those subadults returning to their sites. Success is measured by adding up the numbers. Averages created based on the first few years of mentoring and the average fledge rates. By increasing the number of landlords across the state, it also spreads out the management work, the expenses, and the time. As you can see, from 2010 to 2022, there was quite a jump in the number of landlords, and using the average of 24 pairs hosted per site, we increased to 4,200 from the 2010 number of 52. a 4,416% increase. The number pledged increased from our total number in 2010 of 296 to the average of 16,093, a 5,436% increase. Compare this to a single landlord with a supercolony with 300 pairs. On average, the number pledged from that colony would be around 1,125. This is still a smaller number compared to the 175 landlords and the number of pledged that they could produce. Again, it spreads out the management work, the expenses, and the time. This is a map of Missouri showing the average dispersal distances per the natal dispersal article on the PMCA's website. The inner circle represents a 9-mile dispersal and the outer represents the 19-mile dispersal. These numbers are averages as noted in Mr. Hill's article using the long rangers. The dot on this map represents just my site and the average dispersal of my fledglings. This slide displays just 60 of the colonies that are now practicing better management techniques. The remaining colonies that are not displayed here are clustered in the same areas, covered by the current dots that you see here on this map. By improving management practices at colony sites scattered across Missouri, we have increased the coverage with scattered more successful sites and increased the number of fledglings, as well as improved the chances for a landlord who is waiting for his first pair to start his own colony. A summary of accomplishments to date. We are paying it forward. Landlords are helping other landlords. A total of 175 landlords are now receiving my Puma newsletter and printing extras to even hand out to their friends. Landlords are now mentoring other landlords, and the impact of my initial outreach effort is growing exponentially. Across the state, we have a huge reduction in English house sparrows and starlings that were previously allowed to nest. Our lessons learned. Along the way, I have learned a lot of lessons. A lot of people still don't have access to the internet and can only be contacted via local newspapers or even regular mail. Not everyone uses Facebook or email. People like friendly competitions, whole drawings or small trivia games to compete for gourds, traps, PMCA memberships, etc. Hosting a Saturday morning Purple Martins and Coffee event as your site is a good way to attract the locals around your area. Be prepared to provide landlords with less expensive options, such as plans to build a homemade gourd rack or a house. Be prepared to address the very many myths out there as well, such as one about purple martins eat mosquitoes. If you have the means, you can also help out other landlords by purchasing equipment on sale yourself, then reselling it to landlords at half the price. I have found that people who have some amount of a monetary investment in their equipment are more apt to be more serious about hosting purple martins. What else you can do? Take a drive, stop and introduce yourself, knock on the doors, a boots on the ground approach. It is more personal this way. Offer to help with modifications, house clean out, getting rid of nest site competitors. For example, you can loan traps or even help to trap or shoot if you're allowed. You can reach out to local and state publications. In Missouri, for example, we have the Rural Missouri Magazine, and ask if they will do an article on your site. Spread the word. Contact your local newspaper's editors and ask if you can submit an article. Include your contact information at the end of the article. 4 newspapers currently provide full coverage for my area. Set up a public site. You can also host an open house event and give away free door prizes. Spread the word. even further. Contact your local Audubon groups, Boy and Girl Scout troops. Print out personal business cards that you can hand out. Always have Puma literature in your car to hand out with your business card. Be brave. The worst they can say is no, and stick with it. When people see how passionate you are about purple martins, that feeling is often contagious. Moving on to the next portion of my presentation, good fences make good neighbors. Life with a great horned owl. Some background about my great horned owl. I first discovered the presence of a great horned owl here in my colony in 2014. I initially had an instinct that something was going on in my colony, and after deploying game cameras to monitor each gourd rack and housing system, it was confirmed that yes, indeed, I had a great horned owl that had become hyper-focused on my trendsetter. What I found was neither tunnels on my horizontal gourds nor the 90-degree entrance turns in my trendsetter housing helped, because the owl would grab the house or the gourds and flush them out eventually and grab them as they exited their housing. From 2014 until March of 2016, I deployed many passive measures that worked for short periods of time, only short periods of time, until the great horned owl eventually adapted to them. Lights and radio, motion detection lights, scarecrows, and even an audio of household sounds such as door slamming, my husband and I talking, yelling, throwing down wind chimes, etc. All of those eventually failed. By 2016, I decided to replace the trendsetter, which was her favorite target, with a gourd rack, and I then enclosed all my 3 gourd racks with wire caging. So what did I learn from everything that I experienced with this great horned owl over the last 8 years? Monitor your site. Primarily, that is the most important thing you can do to determine whether you even have a great horned owl, firstly, and secondly, to determine how your anti-owl measures are working. Don't try to guess whether you have a problem or not. Use game cameras or security cameras and record video from dusk till dawn. A second lesson learned, and a critical one, place your fencing at least 12 to 13 inches away from your gourd and housing entrances. If the owl has already eaten martins at your site, passive measures, any types of lights, radios, etc., will not stop her or him. You can reduce the owl's ability to detect and home in on a martin with the dancing man motor or continuous radio noise, but once the martin is spotted, the owl will attack. Another lesson learned is make sure you enclose the bottom and the top of your cages. In conclusion, again, after 8 years spent with this owl, I have determined cages are the most effective deterrent as long as your martins stay inside. For example, martins are still vulnerable, departing for and returning from dawn song, or if they perch on the side or the top of the cage. Yes, you will still lose a few martins, but your colony will not be slaughtered or devastated as it would have if you had left the housing unprotected. And I knew this because in 2014, I went from losing almost 12 total pairs in my trendsetter to now only losing 4 to 8 birds each year. Thank you for your attention, and I will turn it over now for questions.